all of that was in our head in the first half of this season, it doesn't matter, dude. I don't care what anyone has to say. I just went toe-to-toe with Hakimi. If the season ended today, would you be happy or would you be sad? I want to start with the vibes one. I think coming off the Club World Cup, the vibes are hot. The vibes are hot.
You can sense it from like being around the team, like at the games. And last night as well.
The locker room was bumping last night. Let me tell you, they had to ask him to turn the music down during the pressers.
Exactly. And you can just feel that they are all riding a high from getting to play in those games. I mean, dude, that must have been so fun.
Oh,
like
dude.
Being out there against Botafogo, Atletico Madrid, and PSG, and having the games like be up in the balance where you're fighting for results that would be legendary if you can pull them off, and they're actually like low key attainable, even though they didn't get them. Just being in a situation where you were competing against players like that, you got your family and your friends and 50,000, 55,000 fans, whatever it was, watching you. That must have been the goddamn experience of a lifetime. All the guys are cloud nine. So I agree. The tournament, it might sound weird that a tournament where you lost all 3 games and got grouped like would result in vibes like that. But like that's real. Like that's stuff that everyone who's around the team right now will tell you like they're feeling that.
Yeah, I think for me, like honestly, the vibes seem amazing. Like it's not,
which they didn't as recently as a couple weeks
like
ago.
I think it's really truly a reset. Like we talked about after that Vancouver game how much of a low, just how much of a low this team was on. Like it felt like that game they fell apart mentally and physically and dropped points in a winnable game, in a winnable moment, in a moment that they really just like needed those points. Didn't make a run in Champions Cup, didn't make a run. You know, just we're never really a serious contender for the Shield. I mean, they weren't even playing an Open Cup, so it's, you know, there was that. And yeah, I think this was really a reset, a mental reset to say, listen, all of that was in our head in the first half of this season, it doesn't matter, dude. I don't care what anyone has to say. I just went toe-to-toe with Hakimi.
Yeah.
Like that's I mean, what are we talking about? That's incredible.
How many people ever can say that they got to do that?
Like probably a lot of really stinky, sweaty French people. But like regardless, you know, that's
not many of the average laymen.
No, exactly. So I think the vibes are high. And when we talk about momentum being kind of everything in this league, do you think it's gonna be peaking like right now and maybe that's a little too soon? Because normally you want to peak playoff time. But could this mean Leagues Cup run?
And usually this team is good about peaking during playoff time.
And
that's
summer.
That's been a source of frustration at times, which is like, why can't you just find that level earlier in the season as well? But it's also been something that they've ridden to great effect over the years because it's a team that historically does get hot at the right time. But I think, I mean, overall, let's just look at their record and points per game, points total and stuff like that. They're 8-6-5 at 1.53 points per game, 29 points, and a +2 goal differential. So if you're just looking at that in isolation, I would say that's not where we would have wanted them to be. If you told us that that's where it was going to be without giving us any other information before the season, I think I would say that is like...
That's underwhelming.
That's underwhelming relative to what we thought this team could do this year.
Signings they made, the money
like
they
the Ferrari trade, De La Vega being healthy and theoretically
Jordan,
getting to
DP.
contribute, Jordan like being set to be a DP and, you know, continuing what he did last year when he moved to the number 9 and bagged 19 goal contributions. So all that had us, I think, feeling like this team should very much be in that 1.7 to 1.89 points per game territory, not 1.53, which is what they're at now. But when you look at it in context, and I've mentioned this before, given the injury situation at forward and at center back that they've dealt with, and the absences and the context of all that, and then what's happened in some of the games, how they played in Club World Cup, and the fact that they are 1 point off 4th place in the West right now, I think there's every reason to believe that this team can compete for silverware this year. And you have Jordan Morris theoretically coming back healthy, which will hopefully give the team a boost in attack, even though Moose looked great last night as well, but that's another good sign. I think what you were saying is correct. Like the vibes coming off the Club World Cup are vastly improved than what they were even as recently as the Vancouver game. And just at the game last night, it had the feel of a team that was like, all right, like we have this reset, like you said.
Yeah.
It's time to get back on track, and we'll see if they can do it. But I want to see them pump that points per game up towards where San Diego, Vancouver, and Minnesota are. And assuming they get back to relative full health, I definitely think they can do that.
For sure.
Will they do that? I don't know, but we'll have to see. But they have the tools. If I didn't feel like they had the tools at their disposal to do that, I would say that. But I think they do.
Yeah, I think, I'm interested to see how they do in Leagues Cup. We're big Leagues Cup defenders over here. People get really upset at us about that, but like, I enjoy Leagues Cup. You know what? I'm gonna say it. I'll say it. You know what? And maybe I'm a shill, but I enjoy it, and I would be happy if they won Leagues Cup. That'd be sick.
More than Leagues Cup itself, I just like watching them play Liga MX's teams.
Yeah, whenever you get to play a higher level of competition. Not saying that Liga MX is higher level of competition generally than the average MLS team. It's different. It's different. It's just fun. So I think that like they can make a run in that. That'd be sick. Dude, we already went to the final one time. Win it. Bring it home. We don't have that trophy yet. I want that one.
It's one to put in the case.
I want that one.
Sure.
It looks like an hourglass. It's cool.
Yeah.
And then second, I think the vibes are that like it feels like this team is picking up steam. And they're picking up steam at a time when players are settling into positions. We talked about Ferreira. Players are coming back healthy. You're talking about Jordan. And players are legitimately competing for starting minutes week by week. We're talking about Alex Roldan, KKR. We're talking about every winger. Paul Rothrock pushing out De La Vega. It is like this. The machine has gotten going. You turn the key and it like falters a couple times on your old car. Finally caught and the engine's going. And I think that what that is to mean long term in this season, I don't know, but it's feeling much better. Jeremiah was talking about this on No Study at This. He was saying, if the best thing that happens this season is you went to the Club World Cup, that's a failure of a season. So with that, I wanted to ask you, if the season ended today, would you be happy or would you be sad?
I think any season where you don't win a trophy, this club's held to a standard that's what defines success, is stacking silverware. And it would be a second straight year, if I'm not mistaken, that they wouldn't have gotten one. So that would extend a streak that I know they don't want to extend. They need to start like adding to the case. Again, it's a great case. We all love the case, but
the case.
You got to add to the case. You got opportunities to do that on multiple fronts between now and the end of the year. So I do think that taking one of these trophies that's available is going to be ultimately what defines if it's like an actual like real success.
Yeah.
But let's see how the games go, because there is a world where they go on like an insane tear and look like an incredible team and then end up like falling short in the playoffs, or one of those like high variance scenarios where it comes down to
Ricky Puig tears his ACL and
that
somehow
one
plays.
Bounce of the ball either way type thing.
Yeah.
So I would assess that as it arrives. But no, I mean, I do think that like the objective and expectation should absolutely be to win either like Leagues Cup or MLS Cup. And I mean, who knows? Like the Shield feels pretty out of reach at this point. But if other teams cool down and Seattle gets blazing hot, maybe they work their way up into the mix for that. I don't think so.
I think it's out of reach.
I think it's pretty out of reach. But like
you're on 29 points and Philly's on 40.
Yeah. But maybe they tailspin and Seattle just goes on like a 10-game win streak.
They're losing right now, so
yeah. But the Shield I'm not that wrapped up in. But you got Leagues Cup out there, you got MLS Cup out there. You gotta go all out for those. You gotta try and win those.
If you had to pick one that you think is more like you if you were not that you're a betting man, but if you were a betting man and you had to pick one or the other, which one are you putting some money down on?
Probably MLS Cup, just because this club has such a long track record of, especially under Schmetz. I mean, dude, his playoff record is insane. He has by far the highest winning percentage in the playoffs of any coach in MLS history. People don't talk about that enough, in my opinion, when we're assessing the Schmetz overall body of work and legacy. He's the best playoff coach this league has ever seen, like winning wise. So, like, Schmetz in the playoffs is god tier. So, if I had to put money on him
They were in the
And
Western
then,
Conference Final last year.
Exactly. And they won multiple playoff series to get there. Again, it's a good tournament team, but it's specifically a good MLS Cup playoff team, historically at least. So that's why I would put my wager on that.
Least we forget that we were one ACL away from probably winning MLS Cup and hosting it in Seattle. Like,
Yeah.
off of a year that, like, I wouldn't say was bad, but I wouldn't say was extraordinary by any stretch of the term.
No,
like,
I think if anything, going into the playoffs, people were feeling kind of disappointed by how the season went. And then, people remember that playoff run differently. I thought that was a great playoff run.
I thought it was great too.
Yeah.
But maybe it was because we were at all the games, but
Maybe.
be.
But, anytime you come within 8 minutes of making an MLS Cup and probably winning it, you were at least in the mix, which in reality, this stuff is all just like bites at the apple and putting yourself in those positions. Sometimes it's not going to work out like last year, but if you put yourself in those positions enough, you'll have years like 2016 and 2019 where it does go your way. So it's more about just putting yourself in those situations to take those results and ultimately, hopefully, win those trophies.
well, that's all I have for a check-in. I think that we can update this, but I think it's interesting to see where we are, and it feels like the tides are turning, the doors are opening, and I'm just excited for this next half of the season, or the rest of the season.
Absolutely.